Hi, everybody. Frog in my throat. Frog in my throat. Okay, so, hello. I just wanted to do a little bit of reiteration in talking about what you need to have for next week. I think most of you understood and got the deliverables for next week, but I just wanted to kind of open up the Bentley file, or at least one that I had at home, and just take a look at the timeline and just talk about the methodology here for a hot second, so that you still understand like what's going on. So you can see we took Bentley, which was the rig, okay, and that's the rig we brought the rig in on frame 1, and then we copied that to frame 2, and we started posing our first pose on frame 2, okay. And you can see that I have my animation layer here, that first drawing, okay. And on the left I have my chart, and my chart says, well, I'm on frame 2, and we talked about that 17 frame space, that magic number that I wanted you to remember, 17 frames. And so we said, okay, well, we're on frame 2, and we want to get to frame 19, which is 17 frames. That's my next pose, right? And our breakdowns are going to be placed on 10 and 11, right? Because we're using the same concept that we used in the arm point assignment, where you've got a key and we need to get to another key pose like this, right? Where clearly we've got symbol switching happening on the arms, right, and on the eyes, okay. And we want to use a method that will allow us to trick the audience's eye into not seeing the symbol switch, and that's why we have two breakdowns right beside each other that happen on ones real quick, and we pop from one to the next where we switch those symbols out, right? You can see the palms are switching out from this breakdown to this breakdown. And the trick is we are going to ease out and go fast into the first breakdown, make the switch, do the old like Houdini switch, and then we're going to ease out of the breakdown and into we're going to be, fast out of the breakdown, and we're going to ease into our second key, right? Right? So we've got this lovely action happening, and you can notice that, again, we did our spacing on thirds, just like we did in class. We spaced everything on thirds, okay? So if I open up the arm point, okay, you can see the second breakdown here. Oh, these tweening. Hang on a second. You can see the second breakdown. Right? This is the breakdown we did our symbol switching on, right here. Not this one, but this one, right? And it's on that symbol switch that you're tricking the audience's eye, okay? So it's the same concept as the arm point, okay? So we have key or extreme, breakdown, breakdown, extreme, and then favor, and then we went through, and we did another demonstration, sort of. This is why I had you do this this sort of hocus pocus method of the no in between point to demonstrate it another way, by placing our extreme here. Okay, so we have our extreme, and then we have, so the arm is easing into that extreme, and then we have one favor drawing. So the extreme, one favor, and then pop. And we're switching symbols between here and here. And we sold it. We sold that no in between pop using recoil, right? So up, pop, right? Up, pop, right? So you keep the hand moving so that you sell it. Okay, but the point here is that it's this second breakdown here that allows you to do the symbol switch. Okay, and that's the concept that we're using also in the Four Poses assignment, right? It's that second breakdown. Okay. So if we go back here, we have our first key. The difference is, I don't know if I have this set up to have the tweening fixed. Okay, so it is. So the difference is, next week we're going to ease using the click and drag method. So I just tweened these frames here, and we're going to be in betweening, or we're going to use the click and drag method to in between on thirds, because we drew our breakdowns on thirds. Okay, so our breakdowns are on thirds, and we're going to come down to the timeline, and we're going to find a third, which is about there, and then we're going to click and drag toward the breakdown. Okay, here's half, here's about a third, click and drag toward the breakdown. Half, here's a third, click and drag toward the breakdown. Okay. Same on the other side. we want to ease into the key. If you want to ease into something, you're going to drag away from it. So here's a third, click and drag. Half, third, click and drag, and a third, click and drag. Okay, and then so you've got that. You've got a nice smooth transition between the two poses. Okay, right? And we don't want this tweened because we want to be on twos. So we're gonna select all this stuff, say Control L, and then you got that lovely twos texture, right? Look at how nice that is. Okay. Now you can see here, so I'm gonna undo this. I'm going to get rid of these keys because this is not what I want to see next week. Don't go to that step. You are only to have your keys, so this and this, and your breakdowns. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these to show you what you need for next week. I only did that as a demonstration, just to reiterate the two breakdowns, because I know that some people in the class maybe just the concept was still eluding them. So I just want to make sure that people understand the two breakdowns are here so that we can make the symbol switch, and we're going to go fast into the breakdowns. Okay, we're going to ease out and go fast in to the breakdown, and then ease in to the second key. So as long as that's clear, that's the aim here with this video. And I want to touch on, just the sort of the layout of things. So I have two of my keys done here that I can show you, right? So here's our two of my pose transitions done. Okay, so here's my first key pose. Okay, then here's the breakdowns, and then my second key pose. Okay, and then I gave myself a 10 or so frame beat. So I copied this key to this key, all right? Because I just want to give myself a second for this pose to read. You don't necessarily want to pop right into the next pose. You got to give yourself some read time. You got to give the audience some read time. Super important. Okay, readability on screen. So I'm giving myself roughly 10 frames, and then I go into the next. I'm going into transitioning into my next pose. So down like this. I got my face starting to turn. Okay, so the face is starting to turn. Trying to cheat the perspective, cheat the, right? And it happens fast. And then, right, we turn the character. Now, again, you are not required to turn the character. You are not required to turn the character. You can if you want, but that is at your own discretion, okay? So, but in any case, this is my second transition. Okay, so do 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 do, right? So what I should see is one pose, two breakdowns, second pose, possibly a hold, okay, and then two more breakdowns into the second pose or third pose, right, and so on and so forth. And I've got these key poses here. So this I don't need. I've got these key poses also, which are my other poses. Oh, so these. So actually, I can take these and I can move them. So this, I've got this is my second pose here, right? So I'll do a hold for a certain number of frames. So I'll copy these here. Okay. So I'm here, and then I'm here, just to give that readability, right? That read time. And then we're going to get, oh, where are we? So we're here, and then we want to get to there. So we've got a little transition that we have to fix, but we can fix that. No problem. So yeah, just making sure that if we transition from this pose to this pose, so we're here, you got like a bit of a hold. So there's that. We're in this pose. We got like a 10 frame hold or so, or whatever. You can decide how many frames you want to hold for. That's up to you. Right. And then we'll just give ourselves a little bit more room here. And then again, to get to this pose, a good number that you can use is 17, because it'll give you a nice 3 frame in between space on either side. So if I'm here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh wow, look at that. Nailed it. So we're here 17 frames later, and we're going to put a breakdown here and here. So you would have, again, like I explained in class, you would have a breakdown here and a breakdown here on frames 64 and 65, I believe. So over here on your chart, right, this is my third, and this will be my last pose. So on my charts, I will say, okay, oop, pencil is very big. Okay, so I will say, okay, so this key. Okay, so my chart. I'm at frame 56, so 56. Oh, that's annoying. 56, and I want to get to 73. I want to get to 73. 73. Circle your keys, and we're going to place our breakdowns on thirds. And our breakdowns are on 64 and 65. 64, 65. Okay. Just like that. And then we're going to go in and we're going to do our breakdowns between these poses. Okay? And you'll have your two keyframes here. And so this is your, right? So your timeline should look something like this. You're going to have your first key, breakdown, breakdown. Now, the other thing I do want to impress onto people again is you don't necessarily want to start on your animation on frame 2, and in fact I would advise that you don't. You want read time for the first pose as well. Like you don't want your character to start animating like right away. Give it just a smidgen of a beat. Read time, readability, it's very important. So give it a smidgen of a beat. So if I have all of my animation frames like this, drag them over like that, okay, to, I don't know, frame 11, and you can just copy this to, you know, frame 2. So if I'm here, Control C, Control V, right. Okay, so start your first pose on frame 2, but give it a 10 frame hold or so before you start transitioning your character. So give it 10 frames of read time. Okay, 10 frames. So start here. You can, like as I did, I slid all of my animation over to frame 10 or so. You can take everything, slide it over to frame 10, and then just take your first pose and copy it back to frame 2, and so you'll have this hold for 10 frames, and then your character can start moving, transitioning. Okay, so here's key 1. So yeah, your timeline should look something along the lines of this. Minus all this junk. Hang on. Okay, you've got your first pose, right? Going to give that a 10 frame hold. Then we're going to go into our 2 breakdowns and into our second pose. So pose 1, breakdown, 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 pose 2. Okay, give it a bit of a hold, and then we're going to transition, breakdown, breakdown, pose 3. Give it a bit of a hold, transition, breakdown, breakdown, pose 4. Now, I didn't do my breakdowns here, you can see that, but you can still see the layout. There's pose 4. Okay. So this is a little of what your timeline should look something like this. Okay. And again, where we're going to get to is we're going to be transitioning using the click and drag method. But that's not for this week. You're not doing that this week. You're just doing these. Okay. And the video that you're going to export is something like this. So do, right? That's what we want to see. But with more, there's only 2 poses here. There's only 2 poses, but it's going to look like this. So do. So no tweening. I don't want to see any tweening. Okay? Just these poses. So you should have 4 poses in your video, to clarify. 4 poses in your video, and your transitions, your breakdowns between those poses, these lovely transitions. Okay? And good talk. Okay, so again, we're covering, this is the same exercise really in terms of the symbol switching. It's the same as the arm point. The arm point, going back, coming up, except we eased using the graph editor. So we set the easing with the graph editor. We switched our symbols between these 2 frames here, and then we eased into this and then popped, right? Pop. Okay. Excellent. Okay, good talk. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Ta-ta.